Hi, everybody. Okay, we're going to get started. It is 5:30. I hope everyone can hear us. If you can't, please comment in the chat below and let us know. I'm joined here by ASDA pre-dental coordinators as well as ADEA pre-dental coordinators. They'll all kind of introduce themselves as we all come in, and we have more on the other side of the room. However, thank you for being with us today. We're going to go over quite a few things. Let me move my screen here. Here is our agenda. And of course, this disclosure is just to say that we're in no way connected with admissions at WesternU. And we are doing this through ASDA as pre-dental representatives to give pre-dental students some valuable information about the application process. And we have no financial interest, and we are not affiliated with anyone other than ADEA and ASDA. So our outline, we're going to go over the ASDA application, so dental school application. Also talk about the DAT real quick. We'll hit personal statement, letters of recommendations, and then go over the application itself. And also give you all some final tips, and also kind of end off with some questions, and also talk about our experience here at WesternU. Through the application, we saw that a lot of students had questions about WesternU as a school, so we wanted to touch on that just briefly as well. Without further ado, let's open up the chat. Okay, if everyone can hear me, can you just say yes one more time before I hand it off to Denise here? Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna hand it off to Denise. She's gonna introduce herself, and then we will get rolling, okay? Should we keep the headphones? No? Yeah, it's easier with mine.
Hi, everyone. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We are gonna, okay, so we're gonna start with the application timeline. And this is updated for this year. The application opens May 14th. That is a soft launch, so don't think that that is the application that you're gonna be submitting. The first day you can actually submit your application is June 4th. And then during the fall and winter, that's when interviews are gonna be happening. The first a day that dental schools can actually let you know that you're in is December 2nd. And the application closes on the 3rd. And the last day to submit any supporting documents is in February. And so it is really important for you to log into the ADEA and ASDA's application. That gives you 3 weeks to start your application, make sure that you have everything that it's required for you. Let's see. So you want to make sure that you do all your work on a Word document and make sure you save it on your computer. You don't want to start your essays on the actual application because sometimes you can lose everything. Let's see. So for some schools, they do have rolling admissions, and then for some schools, they don't. And so what that means is essentially schools, as they get the applications, they start reviewing them. And for some of them, that doesn't happen. So also, if you are planning on applying to start school essentially next year, you need to start applying now. So the process begins a year before matriculation, and then most schools offer seats until classes are completely full. And then, so the next slide right here. So this is a brief overview of what the ideal student, not necessarily ideal, but what ASDA recommends students to take during their undergrad career. So for, say, their freshman year, they're recommending chemistry 1 and 2 with the lab, and then pre-calculus, calculus, Biology 1, and then let's see, you should join your pre-dental club, and then for your second semester, Biology 2, Organic Chemistry, for your second year, Organic Chemistry, English, and so on. Many of us didn't necessarily follow this track. For say myself, I was an art major. I did art for about 2 years and then switched over to a biology major. It took me a little longer to actually complete all my requirements. So it's totally okay if you don't follow the ideal thing posted on ASDA. And so for our school, some of the, so for our school, the average overall GPA is 3.26, and then the average science GPA is 3.12. The DAT for the DAT was an average of 20. And here's Vivian.
Okay, so Denise was just talking about the ideal pre-dental timeline. But with that said, schools are currently looking into more well-rounded individuals. Stats are only a portion of what the school looks into. As speaking for Western University alone, we calculate science GPA, DAT, exposure to dentistry, which is volunteering or shadowing or whatever experience that you may have at work, community service, personal statements, and the application as a whole equally. So, so what applications will look into is maybe if you are amazing in grades, they don't necessarily will accept you right away because they want to see what type of other things that make you a better, well-rounded, competent individual. For Western University, more statistics about the ADSAS application includes last year we received over 3,000 applications with 362 interviews, and within that number, they were fighting for 69 seats. These numbers aren't meant to scare you, but it's just these are statistics that you can find for each individual schools and give you more insight about what schools may interest you. So for our non-traditional applicants, so here, there are many earlier we talked about the ideal timeline for pre-dental students, but obviously not everyone follows that ideal timeline. Some of us may be switching majors, like Denise talked about with her art major. Some people have families, been in armies, have career changes, or have GPA difficulties, or have little volunteer shadowing experiences. You can all use these. You could take a moment to find out what things that you have done in order to improve or help you in your application by just mentioning how you worked on increasing your GPA if you had a lower GPA, or if you had little volunteer, what did you do to change that in order to be more of a competent applicant. Other things is that you can take additional classes outside of your school. So for me personally, I took anatomy outside of my school because it was not offered at UC Santa Barbara. So I took it at a nearby community college to get the prerequisites that some school may request. Otherwise, I've also taken business classes just as a hobby and something that I wanted to expand myself personally. So don't forget to take classes that you enjoy if you have time to take extra classes, because that might make you also a more competent applicant. All right. So we're going to move on to the next slide, and we're going to switch over to Ariel.
Hello. Okay. So we're going to talk about the ADSAS application. It's through ADEA. That's the American Dental Education Association. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay. So the ADSAS is the the Associated American Dental Schools Application Service. The service collects all of your information, verifies your transcripts, and sends the information to your chosen schools. And then this service is used by all of the 66 US dental schools. But unless you're in Texas, if you're a Texas resident, and you're applying to a Texas dental school, you have to apply using the TMDSAS. But if you're not in Texas, you will use the ADSAS application. The application cycle opens May 14th, and the first day to submit application is June 4th. Here is just an example. There's a link for you to go to the application. This is just what it looks like. And when you download the PowerPoint, you can use the link. And then, so when you're selecting your schools that you're going to be applying for, you can use like a guide. ADEA, the American Dental Education Association, has a guide with all of the dental schools. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but basically, it can allow you to look at all the different schools' requirements, maybe cross out some schools that you don't feel that you meet the requirements for, and that can help you narrow down what schools you want to apply for. It also helps you like get an idea of how many letters of rec you need, what you need from them. Then it gives you like the school's target DAT scores, their average accepted DAT scores, their average accepted GPAs per school. And then things that you want to consider when you're selecting your schools is if you want to go to a private or a public school, in-state or out of state. Then your location, you could always go on a tour if you have a dental school close by. A lot of dental schools do, pre-dental days and things like that. And just do a lot of research on the schools that you're looking at and what you want to go to, and consider the tuition costs too. And then we're going to move on to Ethan for the DAT.
Hi everyone, I'm Ethan. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the DAT and my experiences. So first of all, the DAT is the admissions test that we're all required to take before getting into dental school. It's basically an equalizer for all applicants. So kind of on a side of your grades, they use this test to determine your knowledge in science. So first, to register for the DAT, you have to get a dent pin, which is basically a dental identification number. And then you'll use, you can get that off the ADEA.org website. And then you can register for the DAT also on the ADEA.org. And then once you register, they'll give you an eligibility ID within the next like 24 hours or so. And then you can use that eligibility ID and then go to the Prometric website, which is like the testing center that the DAT is given at. And then you can sign up for the DAT through there. Aside from that, you also want to make sure that you have a passport and driver's license, or two identification cards that you can have, and they should not be expired.
So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so these are the links that you can use to get your dent pin and signing up for the DAT and the Prometric website. Okay, for the DAT rescheduling, you are allowed to reschedule, but it usually comes with a bit of a cost just for like scheduling purposes. So if you decide to reschedule within 31 days of your test, it costs you $25. 6 to 30 days prior to your test, it's $60. And within 5 days prior to your test, it's going to cost $100. So just kind of know that you can reschedule, but it does cost money, so try to plan your studying accordingly. For studying, there's a few different resources that we suggest. I've kind of talked to a bunch of my classmates about what they use to study, and it seems like a lot of students use the RE schedule, and that uses a combination of a few of these different textbooks and videos that are found online. So I would highly suggest using the RE schedule. You can find that at datbootcamp.com. It's a combination of, let's see, the Cliff's AP Biology, the DAT Destroyer, and the Chad's videos. So for what I did was I watched the Chad's videos and got like a good foundation in my sciences, and then worked through the DAT Destroyer book, which is basically just a huge question bank that you can use to practice the different science and gen chem questions that you learn through the Chad's videos. Okay, so before the test, remember that this is not a marathon. It is a marathon, not a sprint. So be sure to get a good, nice rest and stay hydrated and eat well the day before. Plan your day, so set your alarm, get directions to the testing center. I personally went to the testing center the day before, or maybe like a week before, just to make sure I knew how to get there and how long it would take. Set aside comfortable clothes. So that's maybe bring a sweatshirt or light jacket into the testing center just in case it's cold. And also bring water that you can drink during your break. Another thing that I've heard pretty often is to avoid studying the day before the test. I didn't study too much, and I don't think many people do. It's just a good time to let your mind rest and get ready for the exam. And kind of an important tip is to stick to foods that you're used to eating. So the day before the exam, don't try out any new foods that could possibly make you feel sick. Okay, what to bring? You can bring, you have to bring 2 forms of current identification. So it can be a passport and driver's license. That'll work perfectly. A water bottle, snack, lunch. And another thing that is helpful is the Prometric testing sites. They do give you headphones, but they're over the ear headphones. And if you're wearing those for like 2 or 3 hours, it can kind of hurt your ears and give you a headache. So I personally brought earplugs, which is fine. I think they test them beforehand and it's totally fine, but they're just more comfortable. I know some other tests that for like the GRE and any other tests that might be given at the Prometric site, there might be typing and that can get a little annoying. So having earplugs is really helpful. So for test day, get comfortable with the computer. I took a lot of practice tests and I felt like the practice tests were pretty similar to the computers that they were using, and they had the same setup, and like the calculator they used for the quantitative reasoning was pretty similar, but I'd still go through the time that they let you to get used to it, just to make sure you know how to use all the different tools that they let you use, such as highlighting. One of the main things is just stay calm and focused during the exam. I think a lot of people rush right away, and that's the science section. And they give you 90 minutes to finish the Gen Chem, OChem, and biology sections. And there's really not a big reason to rush during the sciences, because you usually have quite a few minutes to go back and check answers. So don't like feel pressured on time and just like randomly select an answer just because you don't think you have enough time. You also get 1 break during your exam. So it's usually right after the PAT section. So I think it's about 15 minutes. So you want to use that time and set a timer on your phone or watch so that you know when to get back into the testing center, because it'll start without you. So you don't want to miss any time on the section that comes afterwards. Okay, and I'm gonna hand you off to Michael.
Alrighty. Thank you, Ethan. Oh, a lot of information. Yeah, so we're gonna go into talking about the personal statement, and as well, just as we said before, we're gonna also talk about filling out the application. I should have taken a drink of water before I started, but sorry. I'm gonna do this. Let's proceed. Some ASMR for you guys. All right, so we're gonna talk about the personal statement. I know this can be probably one of the hardest parts of the dental school application. I know personally, I wrote about 36 drafts for one of my applications. And that's something that, you know, if you end up in a situation like that, it's necessary. You want to make sure that you're presenting yourself to the school in the best possible manner. And of course, you don't want to send them something like what's on the screen, personal statement, I am awesome. Make sure to, so to make your personal statement really well written, make sure to start really early. If I didn't start a few months early before the actual application cycle opened, I wouldn't have been able to get those 36. Sorry. If I hadn't started early, I wouldn't have been able to get those 36 edits, as well as getting them out to a lot of the people that I wanted editing my personal statement. So on that note, choose a few people that you want to read your personal statement. I know my first time applying, I gave my personal statement to way too many people, and I was working at LensCrafters at the time. And my LensCrafters manager ended up editing my personal statement, and it totally kind of ended up becoming a personal statement that would work well in optometry school, but we don't really work well in dental school. So be mindful of who you're choosing, and be mindful of how many people you are actually distributing your personal statement to. Also, keep the focus on you. There are times when students tend to go into talking about either their mentor or a different dental assistant or a friend that is in the dental field with them. Make sure to keep it personal. So although you do admire your mentors or anybody else that's in your immediate vicinity, you do want to make sure that you're conveying who you are as a person. And if you're talking about someone else the entire time, dental schools aren't going to be, they won't be able to know who you really are. Also, be authentic. We do have a tendency to hyperbolize things, but at the same time, you want to be sure that you are being truthful in your personal statement. Be mindful that everyone that's reading your personal statement at the admissions committee, they are doctors, and they will see through anything that you might not put as being authentic. So be sure to just sit down and think about. Imagine it being like you're sitting down and talking to a long lost aunt, and you're bringing them up to speed on why you want to pursue dentistry. I felt like that was probably the best way to approach the personal statement. Also, show, don't tell. What I mean by this is that you should be able to not summarize the experiences that you had that led you into pursuing dental school, but show why those experiences are pushing you towards becoming a dentist, and show why you're so passionate about the dental field. And lastly, word limit 4,500 characters. It's hard to be concise, especially with that many characters. I know you want to probably talk about everything, but right off the bat, you should try and get into talking about what's most important for you and why you're pursuing dental school. Be sure to drive that point home every single time. All right. And I put together some don'ts, some personal statement errors that I've seen in the past. Again, we tend to hyperbolize things and think about what the admissions committee wants to hear rather than what we should be telling them. So don't fall into this trap. It's a sure way to get right into a writer's block. And again, this isn't being authentic. This isn't being true to yourself. So be sure to stay away from that. Don't try to be someone you're not. And again, that goes into the be authentic point that I made earlier. Use gimmicky style or format. This is more so, don't use a artistic writing style that you've never used before, and don't make your personal statement into this artistic writing piece, because admissions committees, they're reading through a lot of personal statements, and you want to be sure that you are presenting yourself in a normal manner, and you're not again being unauthentic with your personal statement. You don't want to summarize your resume. A lot of that is pointed out in your application. You don't want to be reiterating what is actually on there. But again, this goes into showing and not telling. Be sure to show why these experiences are pushing you towards dentistry. Don't underestimate the importance of a personal statement. This probably won't happen with you guys because you guys are here, but the people who don't really know, I know I was definitely in that spot at one point, they will think of the personal statement as just a short essay that won't be considered highly. But definitely stress it, and make sure that you're getting it edited and polished before you send it off. Talk about what and not the why. Again, that goes into showing, telling and not showing. And then don't be artistic in your writing style. I was very redundant when I made these. I'm sorry about that, but I believe I'm just trying to drive the point home that you are wanting to make your personal statement as polished as possible. All right, let's go on to letters of recommendation. I see a lot of good questions in the chat coming up. So if you guys do have any questions, please keep putting them there. One of our pre-dental representatives will answer your question. Letters of recommendation before we move on to filling out the application. Letters of recommendation, every school is a little bit different about what kind of requirements they have. Some schools accept a committee letter, or they would like to see at least one letter from a dentist or a professor, or two science professors. But kind of going along with the slide, before you approach a professor or even a committee about writing a letter of recommendation, you do want to have some things prepared for them. Strong personalized letter for one, and a list of extracurriculars or a resume of sorts to present to the professor. You do want to understand that the professors are also busy, either doing research or teaching classes. So you don't want to just go up to them and say, write me a letter of recommendation without anything. So if you approach them in a professional manner, they will write you a really good letter of recommendation. So be sure to have all these things prepared before you actually approach your professor. I touched on this briefly just a moment ago. Be sure to check the individual dental school requirements. Every school is different in what they would like to see in the letter of recommendations. WesternU, for example, and I believe most dental schools are actually this way. They want to see 2 science professors and 1 dentist or dental professional. Sorry, I lost my notes here. The limit to letter of recommendations, it doesn't stop at 3 letters of recommendation. However, you can also upload, I believe, 2 more on ADSAS. So if you do feel that you have the necessary requirements, but you would like to add 1 more letter of recommendation and you feel like that will, solidify your application, by all means do so. And you have an option to waive your right to view the personal statement. So what I mean by this is, in the ADSAS application itself, you have the right to waive your right to view the personal statement. So it's a little check mark, and you want to be sure to check that, because if you don't check that, it might inform the dental schools that you're applying that that you don't really trust the recommender or the person who's writing the letter of recommendation, and therefore you would like to see the letter of recommendation beforehand before it goes to dental schools. So be sure to check that box, and it makes it totally anonymous what your letter of where your letter of recommendation is coming from. And of course, write thank you cards and emails to your professors or your dentist or any other dental professional that wrote the letter of recommendation. It's important to follow a professional decorum, especially if you are applying to a professional school. So be sure to follow these rules, and you probably will not make any mistakes. Alrighty. I will hand it off to Denise. We're going to go on to filling out the dental school application. I'm going to move over for you. Alrighty.
Hello again, everyone. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about filling out the application. And so the first thing is, how much does it cost? This is like the scary part about dental school. So the fees, the cost to apply for dental school, it depends on the number of schools you decide to apply to. For the first school is $245, and then each additional school is going to be $102. So you can do the math. If you decide to apply to 15 of them, is going to be quite a lot, like 1,500 or so. And then you also got to take into consideration that schools also, most schools send out supplemental applications, and every time you submit that, they require for you to pay either anywhere between $50 to $150. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to save up money to pay for your applications. And then, so they also have something called the fee assistance program. So if you are struggling with money, this is good information for you. So they essentially paid for your first 3 schools. The program begins on May 15th, and it's pretty much first comes, first served. And they run out of money. So if you apply kind of late, they might not have any money to help you with that. And so, they do have some requirements. You must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. You have to submit NASDA's FAP cover form. Everything you can find it online, and the website is on here. They also ask for any for tax return, or if you don't do taxes, if you receive any sort of governmental assistance like food stamps or whatnot, you can also use those things as proof of low income. The application takes some time to process, so make sure you apply soon. Okay, and then for transcripts. So this is really, really important because a lot of people overlook this. So this should be the first thing you do. You wanna make sure that you request the transcripts from all the schools you attended. So if you took a summer class somewhere else, or if you studied abroad or whatnot, you wanna make sure that you request transcripts from every single school. Give me a second here. And so on the ASDA application, it's gonna ask you to input all the information. So the name of the course, exactly as it appears on your transcript. And then it's also gonna ask for the grade. If you retook a class because you either failed it or you got a W or an incomplete or whatever it is, there are options for you to actually note that on there. So make sure you don't skip any of that. Make sure you put all of that. There are people like myself that had like 4 transcripts. You can also pay for us to actually fill out that portion for you because it is time consuming. And so the other thing that you should do is just as soon as you request your transcript from your school, you want to consistently be checking the ASDA portal to make sure that the transcripts are uploaded the way they should be. What happened to me is my school sent out my transcript before they released the grades for my final semester, and so they didn't have them, and my application was on hold for a while until I actually realized that they were waiting on my grades. And so I had to call my school and had them resend a different transcript with my final semester grades on there. So just make sure you keep track of everything. You log into your portal frequently, and everything is completed on there. Okay, so now it's Vivian's turn.
Hi. Okay, so for applicant informations, this one, you have to make sure that you get your basic personal information. All your information that you input into this application is true. So with that said, in a personal information, you would have your basic information, your background. If you're a reapplicant, they will have a place where you put that information as well, including your manual dexterity experiences. In your academic history, it will include high schools that you've attended, colleges, the transcripts, and entering the transcripts will be manual. So just like Denise said, you have to make sure that everything you input is exactly how you have it on your transcript sent by the school, because any error in that transcript will delay the process of your application being completed. And it will prolong the process of your application being seen by admissions. That includes standardized test scores. Your standardized test scores also have to match on your application and what's being sent. For supporting informations, we have the evaluations, experiences that you guys had through volunteer, shadowing, or work, achievements you've had, including awards or being on the Dean's Honors List, licenses that you may have had. So maybe you were a personal hygienist in the past, or an RDA. You can put that down, and your personal statement. For program materials, this one, you make sure to research the programs that you're interested, as each prerequisites are different and are expected from each school. So, and if you don't have those prerequisites, you aren't considered a complete applicant and they won't look at it. So you have to make sure that you research thoroughly with each school so that you can get those prerequisites done. Just like how I talked about anatomy, that was one of the courses that were required for some schools. And so I had to take that outside of the school because it wasn't offered at my current undergrad, Next, how do I go next? Oh, I see. Okay, so for some of you, some of these information may be difficult to answer. I definitely had a hard time, as some of them aren't as clear as they may seem, but just try to answer these questions to the best of your ability. Some things include the biographic information, and that includes your address, ethnicity, place of birth. For your parent information, they'll ask for their address, occupation, and their education status. Background information will include manual dexterity, dentist in your family, and previous dental school applications that you may have had, or languages that you've spoken. The environmental factors is going to be a section for people to express their disadvantaged status and describe your childhood residence. Okay, in this section of the application, this is exactly how it looked like for me when I applied in these images in this slide. Here you will mention, just like earlier, the high schools you've attended, colleges, and transcript entry, standardized tests. Here, make sure, we had a question about this from someone who was, one of the questions asked by the students were if credits were taken outside of the US. Yes, they are taken. Some credits can be converted to the 4.0 GPA system using WES or ECE. Here at Western University, we use WES, World Education Services. And so you can compute your credits that you've taken outside of the US and convert it to what's accepted at the US schools. And again, errors in transcript coursework's entry will delay your application. So make sure that everything is correct. Take your time to input them and make sure that they are correct, because again, it would take a long time for your application to be considered complete, and it takes a long time. So make sure you get a head start on that, and make sure you look over it, have someone else look over it, because this part is important. So for supporting information regarding the evaluations, the letter of recommendations include 4 individual evaluations maximum. This may be from 2 science, 1 dentist, and 1 extra letter of recommendation, or you can have 1 individual and 1 committee request. But make sure that you have at least 1 dental and 2 science to write your letter of recommendation. For experiences, here you can talk about your academic enrichment, dental shadowing, employment, activities, research, and volunteer positions. Here there is a maximum letters of 600 characters, and spaces are included. So for scholarships, honors, and awards, there will be a description box with a character limit of 175, including those spaces. Make sure to keep track of all of your dental shadowing experiences, awards, extracurriculars, leadership, research, work experience, and community service. For me personally, it takes a long time for me to think of all of that all at once. So what I did was, from time to time, I had a sticky note and just wrote down, oh yes, I did this. Oh yeah, I did volunteer here at one time in my undergrad, or just any type of thing that you may have volunteered outside of your time. Any experiences that are associated with those volunteers are also really helpful. So for me, I worked a lot as a dental assistant. So from time to time, things would just come up and be like, oh yeah, I do know how to identify dental equipment and dental instruments, or I know how to make phone calls with patients and make appointments. So those are small things that may be overlooked. And so having a little note of everything you've done will be helpful in your application process. Also, in the application, you will also be given about, you're able to select 6 most important experience. So make sure that within those 6, you highlight, see this star at the bottom of this slide. It ranks 6 out of 6 with a star. So make sure to star the ones that make you a strong applicant. And the same goes for achievements. There will be 4 stars that you're able to highlight under your achievements that they can look at and see how you can be a competitive applicant and what makes you more of a stronger individual. Let's see. Oh, and they ask for the date you started and your end date. So make sure that that also is something that you think about and when you input your volunteer and research experiences. Let's see. Okay, I think we are good here. So for supplemental applications, I know a lot of you guys had a lot of questions about this one. So these are additional informations that are sent directly to the school via supplemental applications. Recently, the dental ADSAS included supplementary applications to ADSAS application. This is like really wordy, but it just means that they added their additional supplementary essay questions along with the dental application. But there are some schools that will either email you their supplementary application, or you have to go find out if they have one and sign up onto their individual website. So for Western University, I wasn't aware of this, but they don't email you the supplementary application. You have to do that yourself. You have to go onto their website and make your own login information and then answer their supplementary application there. Whereas some schools, it may be required for only a subset of applications. So Once they look at your application, they will send you their supplementary application. And this one, not everyone has to do. So make sure you do a thorough research on what schools do supplementaries, what don't, and then the ones that do the supplementary, make sure you know if they're going to remind you, if they're going to send it to you, or if that's something you need to do on your own. This part is important because if you don't make this research, you might not know that you never completed your application. These applications will ask a range of different types of things. They may ask about your interest in their specific dental program or qualities that distinguish you from the rest of the applicants. Sometimes they have word limits where you have to be able to fit within a box what's your weakness or strength and things like that. So interview questions within these separate essay questions. Keep in mind that each application is specific to one school, and so they will have different questions and they might vary. And it's important that when you answer these supplementary applications, don't just copy and paste your personal statement. Make sure that it's something genuine about why you wanted to do this school, because these supplementary applications require a fee, and you don't want to send them a generic answer. Let's see. Also, sometimes some of these applications will ask you why you want to attend dental school or why do you want to do dentistry. And although you might have answered that in your personal statement, make sure you add something else to this supplementary application, because this gives you an opportunity to say more about you. Because the personal statement is limited, this gives you an opportunity to expand more about yourself and give them an opportunity to get to know you more. These are some supplemental don'ts. Don't write about how convenient the school is to wherever you want to be. Don't paraphrase the school website. Of course, use the school website to help you find out why you want to go to the school and enhance on this point, but don't just say, yes, this school is about humanism. Yes, that's why I want to go there. Don't do that. Make sure you emphasize why. Don't try to be someone you're not and impress a particular school, because more often than not, you might have something that they are interested, and if you have something you can talk more about genuinely, that will show through the essay. Don't repeat what's already written in your personal statement. This is important because this is how you're going to take advantage of these questions to make yourself shine. Don't write the wrong school name. So then again, just don't copy and paste. Make sure you write an authentic supplemental for that specific school. Important. Like we said earlier, some schools don't send a supplementary reminder, so make sure you check your emails constantly because these schools don't wait for you. So you have to be responsible and organized, and make sure that your emails are looked at, responded, and catch these supplemental essays when they come. And with that said, do your research for these two. Okay.
Hello. Give me 1 second. All right. So I'm going to give you some final tips here. Basically, the biggest thing that we can say is apply early, because the earlier you apply, the earlier schools look at your application, the earlier is your chance to getting invited for an interview. And then when you do start the ASDA application, you want to fill out your transcript matching form first, because that does take a few days. And then keep track of all your documents, proofread your application and your personal statement, have other people proofread your personal statement. Stay focused and relaxed for the DAT. You know, just make sure you're prepared and relaxed, you'll get through it. Check your emails all the time. Check them every day, because you never know when you're gonna get an email. And schools will email you months after your application or just a couple days. It just depends on the school. And then the supplemental for WesternU is available as soon as you submit your application. So once you hit submit, you can go onto WesternU's website, you can create your login, and you can do your supplemental for them, for our school. Once the application is submitted and all the documents are received, there's a processing window of 4 to 6 weeks. That occurs before the application is considered complete by all the schools. And remember that this is a rolling application. That's why it's important to plan your time wisely and apply as early as you can. Make sure you can apply early so that the schools can take a look at your application and start considering you for their school. And then another big thing you can do is get involved. So you can do pre-dental ASDA membership. So with the ASDA website, you can do a pre-dental membership that you can sign up for. I'll talk about that on another slide. And then also ADEA, you can do a pre-dental membership. And then there's community outreach programs that you can do. Pre-dental societies are really great because a lot of pre-dental societies, they will bring in speakers, people from dental schools to talk to you about their journeys, like, and they can, provide you help with your personal statement. And then also pre-dental events at dental schools are really, really helpful. Like you'll go to the dental school, they'll show you around, they'll tell you everything you need to do for your application and give you all the information that you need about the school to give you a decision on if you want to apply there or not. And then you can always visit schools if they're nearby or anywhere you can go to. And then the next slide here. So for the ADEA, the American Dental Education Association, the membership is free. You can just sign up. You can get access to free webinars, discount on events. You can get the newsletter, and they do some scholarship opportunities too for pre-dental. Okay, and then I want to talk a little bit about this. I want to talk about this, the ADEA guide to dental schools. So a lot of the questions that you guys are asking are actually answered here in the book. Like there's a section right here that says for Western University is what we're looking at, and if community college courses are accepted, and it says yes they are. And so this lists all the dental schools in the United States. Like it just has all the information. It has your the average DAT scores they accept, the average GPAs they accept, how much it costs, just like whether it tells you like the demographic information, it tells you how many out of state, in state. So this book is really good. You can also get it online. So you can buy the book, so you can go through the book, that's $40. And then online, it's about, I think it's very similar, maybe a shortened version online, but it still has all the schools listed, still has all this information for $25 on ADEA's website. So we just wanted to tell you about that. And then ASDA also has a pre-dental membership. Okay, and Vivian's going to talk to you about that. And then I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the ADEA Go Dental Virtual Fair. That's another event that is going to be happening on May 23rd. Basically, it's going to be like a virtual fair. You'll be able to open like little virtual booths for each of the schools that are participating. There's a lot of dental schools, and they give you a lot of information about the schools as well. So yeah, that's a 4-hour event. There's a lot added to it. So like, yeah, so there'll be like live online events where you can visit multiple, so virtual dental school booths, like I said, and then you have like a Q&A with ADEA and ADSAS customer service representatives. And then a live chat, there's a live chat with admissions representatives and presentations about finance and dental education and the interviews and just a lot of presentations and things that can be really helpful. So you guys can click that link when you download the PowerPoint, and then here's Vivian.
All right, so we're gonna go back to that one slide really quick and mention ASDA. So ASDA is the American Student Dental Association, and they too also have a book. But first I wanted to talk about the membership. Unlike ADEA, ASDA has a membership of $71, but it comes with a free webinar, discount on events, newsletters and scholarship opportunities just like ASDA, but with ASDA, you have the opportunity to network with undergraduates, high schools, dental students, and also dental admissions and faculty, as well as dentists. The benefits include opportunities to participate and get invitations for discounted workshops, events, mentorship programs. Such workshops can include mock interviews, personal statements, ADSAS applications, and let's see really quickly. ASDA is open to all undergraduates, high schoolers, and also anyone, individual person that is interested in just pursuing dentistry in general. We also have a pre-dental month where all of the 6 different California schools come together and host their own individual workshop for ASDA pre-dental students. And for me personally, one of the events that I really liked as a pre-dental ASDA member was the District 11. It's an annual meeting that encompasses all 6 dental schools, and you meet up somewhere in one of the schools in California and just have the opportunity to talk to all of the admissions, have workshops tailored to pre-dental students, and meet with dental students and the faculty and the admissions and other dentists that might possibly be there, which I thought was personally really cool, especially because I was interested in ASDA's dental schools. On top of that, we have the guide to getting into dental school, much like the ADEA's official guide to dental school. And we have one every year. This book comes free if you have the membership. And here you have images and pictures of each different dental school, the address, the DAT average, GPA average, minimum GPA, accepted students / applicants, the class size, total enrollment, their grading system, if it's pass or fail, whether there are postdoctoral programs, including deadlines, letter of recommendation, shadowing, and just a bunch of things about every school possible in the U.S., which I thought was really helpful, and it really helped me in terms of researching the schools, what prerequisites they needed, and what schools I was just interested in general. So yes, I highly recommend being a member of ADEA because it's free, and also as a membership. Okay. This is Michael.
All right. So we're kind of getting to the end of the presentation here, but we did want to touch briefly on ADEA ASDA Pre-Dental Day at WesternU. It's coming up this summer. We don't have the exact date yet because we are coordinating around our 4th years graduating. They graduate in about a month. It's exciting. But at that event, we will have all those activities listed there, and we are trying to plan a few more, so that is bound to change. But we will also have faculty members there as well as dental students. And as Vivian was mentioning earlier, it is a good opportunity to go and network at these schools, but also to kind of figure out if this is somewhere you would really thrive, if this community is where you would thrive, and if you like the dental students that you could potentially go to school with in the future. So be sure to go there. It's also a good chance to get your personal statement edited and also get headshots for professional applications. Yeah. All right. Okay, so we're gonna end off here with some personal experiences from WesternU, because that seemed to be a overarching question from your applications for this webinar. Personally, I have loved my experience here at WesternU. I came in from Anchorage, Alaska, and coming that far away from home, definitely I was looking for a community which I felt I belonged, and I found that here. I definitely feel that there's a family kind of atmosphere here at Western U, especially, and that all starts at the faculty level. They show that they respect you, and therefore we respect them. And it's been really positive. I know last week in the sim lab, I ended up picking up my tackle box with all my impressions in them, and they all fell out. And I had about 7 other dental students come hoard around me and help me pick up all my my instruments, and that kind of summarizes kind of the culture here at Western U. Everyone's willing to help each other out, and everyone's for your success in dental school. And I think that's one thing that I wanted to mention, talking about our experiences at Western U. I'll hand it over to someone else if they want to share a story or an experience at Western U. Hopefully a positive one, or if not a positive one, then kind of explain. We're just sharing experiences.
Hi, so this is Vivian again. My personal experience at Western University has been amazing. I was looking for a school. I think that all dental schools will get you to your endpoint of being a competent dentist. So what I looked for was the environment, and much like what Michael said, the environment with faculty, the camaraderie here, the collegiality here, and friendship that I've built has been instantly as soon as I entered the school. For me, I got accepted into Western University pretty late, and actually joined in the middle of orientation, and I was freaking out. I was really just shocked for the most part. And what really helped was having faculty constantly be near me, checking up on how I was doing. And actually the person who I interviewed with was the person who calls me, followed up with me, and also stayed with me on the first day of my orientation when I joined midway. I also had really good classmates because all of them had jumped up to my rescue and gave me tips, caught me up on all the things to download, tell me what was due, because it was a lot. And to this day, I think we're all really close. The other day we went to go watch the Avengers Endgame, and 20 of us came out to watch the movies, which is a lot because there's only 69 of us. And I think about the other 10 watched the premiere day. So it just shows the environment that we have here with our classmates, and it's just genuinely very close. In terms of my other experiences is that I'm not sure if we mentioned it here, but we are a block system where we learn courses in one at a time, and then for the first 4 hours, and then the second half of the 4 hours is we're in dental simulation clinic. What I like about that is I just have to think about one course at a time in the morning, and then later in the evening I get started on working on hand instruments. So my experiences working in clinic, working with just dental procedures has been a positive one, and the material that I have to learn in science didactic have also been something that I am able to do well in because of how they divided our coursework, our classwork, and our clinical work. Yep, so I'm going to pass it on to Ethan. What? Well, you could just reiterate it. Maybe give your personal experience. Okay.
Okay, hi everyone again. So I'm from Wisconsin, so it was kind of an interesting move coming out here. And one of the main reasons I picked Western was just the mainly the curriculum and how it was scheduled into block system, as Vivian was just talking about. I think this is very important because it gives us enough time to focus on each class, and then you're able to learn it a lot better than if you're trying to juggle like 4 or 5 courses at once. And I think I've been able to learn the material better and retain it a lot better than I was in undergrad, where I was juggling like 4 courses at once. I also really like the faculty. They've helped so much, and usually I'm a little shy and like intimidated to talk to faculty, but everyone here is so open to helping, and they're all like our best friends. And I think all of us can agree on that. So it's really a nice learning environment for everyone. I'm going to pass it off to Denise, and you can hear about her experience as well.
Hello again, everyone. So my experience at WesternU, I think it was actually the right thing to do to come here. I have an 11-year-old little boy, and as we all know, dental school is, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, but like Vivian said, we have a lot of support from our classmates, our faculty, and it's been a lot easier for me. You know, if I ask for help, if I ask for a tutor, I get a tutor within 2 days. They're very, they understand that we are actually people outside of school, and they want to make sure that we succeed. And so I think that is what makes WesternU great. Just the fact that they listen to us, they listen to our concerns. If we don't necessarily agree with the way an exam was written or the way the class was taught, they reevaluate it and they change things for us to actually succeed. And so the faculty, they're here for us. They want to make sure that we do great. They're open to feedback. They're open to, you know, sometimes we email faculty at like midnight, 1 o'clock, and they still answer or reply to the email. So that is really great. Classmates are great. You know, we help each other. When we had anatomy, I had one of our classmates watch my son so I could go to the anatomy lab. So we're just a big happy family, and I have not heard of any other dental school be like that. So I'm extremely happy to be here, and I would 100% recommend WesternU to everyone. Ariel?
Okay, hello. So I know all of you are applying right now, so I wanted to kind of talk about my experience with applying. I did my undergraduate degree in anthropology, so I didn't decide I wanted to become a dentist till after I was done with college. I did a post-baccalaureate in pre-professional health at Cal State East Bay. There are a number of schools in California that do post-baccalaureate programs for pre-medical and pre-dental students. So it was a 2-year program for me because I was changing my entire career. I took all of my prerequisites, biology, chemistry, physics, biochem. I did all of that in the 2-year program before applying for dental school. And then I also didn't take my DAT till the end of the summer after I had finished my program. So I finished my program in the spring. I spent that whole summer studying for the DAT. I took my DAT in August. So I applied in September, early September. So that was a little bit late for my application, but I applied to 20 schools. I got 5 interviews. My GPA was a 3.5. My DAT was a 19. So I wasn't like top applicant or anything like that, but I did meet all the requirements. My GPA was good enough. My DAT was good enough. And I got 5 interviews, and I'm here at my top school. Western was my choice that I wanted to go to before I even applied, and I'm here, so I'm happy with Western. A few people in my program, my post-bac, we've had a lot of people come to Western, and we've had people come back to our post-bac and do presentations about Western, and that's why I love this school. But yeah, since I've been here, I've loved every minute of it. I love the block schedule. I love that we take 1 science class at a time. So we don't have all our exams all at once in 1 week. It's not like that. We take 1 exam at a time. And so, I don't know, I feel like it's a really, really good community. We are a small class. We all know each other really well. and it's a really good schedule, and just how everything works at the school. I really love it. And yeah, that's my experience. So I think everybody went. We have one more person. Yeah.
I have to introduce yourself.
Oh my gosh. Hi everyone, I'm Lala. So I've been answering some of your questions in the chat, but just to introduce myself, I'm last year's pre-dental chair, but this year I'm part of ASDA. And I just want to take a second to talk about my personal experience with WesternU. And just let you guys know about kind of the culture we have here. So I went to UCLA as an undergrad, and it was tough. It was probably not my favorite environment to study in, and just to be, I guess, just to be a student there. Just because everyone was so competitive, and there was class sizes of 400 people, and I felt like I was always behind and just didn't know what was going on. But then when I came to Western for dental school, it was like the exact opposite experience, where it was very individualized, and we had faculty members who were always willing to help. I actually got to talk to a faculty member for the first time in person. I didn't get to do that at UCLA, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, and then being here, it's just so different because we have a Facebook group chat with all of our class on there, and we literally share everything. So someone asked about competitiveness here. I personally have never experienced anyone being competitive. In fact, it's the opposite. I feel like everyone is just trying to put all the resources on the Facebook group just to have everyone know everything, and everyone's goal is to pass and get to the next year. So there is no more of the whole, I'm gonna, keep something from the class or anything. We even like make Quizlets or like test questions that we think are important, and we share that on our Facebook page. So it's very collaborative. I've never felt like anyone was competing with me or just didn't want the best for me, and that's really refreshing. I know some of y'all will be coming from bigger schools who, we've experienced things like someone stealing your notes. And I just want to put that out there, that Western is not like that at all. And it's very just like a friendly environment. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gunners, but I don't think we really have much of that going on at Western. There are people who are very academically driven, and that's more encouraged than anything. No one's trying to get in your way. No one's trying to stop you from what you're doing. So it's a really nice environment as a student to be in. And it honestly makes dentistry a lot more enjoyable. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And also one more thing, maybe.
Do we schedule patients, or do we have someone schedule patients for us?
Oh, okay. I saw another question in the chat about if we schedule patients or if they schedule it for us. So the way clinic works is we have screening. So a lot of the second year students and even third year students will screen patients. And these are just patients who want to be seen at the clinic. And depending on if they get screened and they're approved as a patient, then they get added to different groups. And so we don't actually, as students, have to schedule the patient. They just automatically get added to our group or our calendar, basically. So it's a little more complex, but basically our clinics are divided and you have 4 groups and the class is split up into 4. And then patients are just taken and filtered between those 4 groups. So in summary, you don't have to schedule your own patients. They're just added for you. And in clinic, we actually have a nice system of you have a big, and then your big has a grand big. So it's a team of a first, second, third, and fourth year. And so when the fourth year graduates, all their patients get passed down to the third year. So currently I am becoming a third year, and my fourth year bigs patients are getting passed down to me, which is nice. So yeah, I didn't have to worry about that, and that's kind of how the system works. And someone else asked about chair time. There's definitely not a problem with that. As I mentioned in the chat, we live in Pomona. Everyone needs something dental related, and the clinic offers reduced prices. So at all times, we have so many people that need care. In fact, we almost have the other problem where there's not enough students to take care of the community. So you do get booked for multiple things in one day sometimes. And yeah. Anything else? I think we're wrapping up here.
All right, so I'm gonna forward. So a lot of good experiences, a lot of good stories, and I know it's everyone had positive things to say, and it might be, you might be like, oh, you're all out of your mind. Like, it can't be such a great place to be. Not everybody gets along, but it's true. I mean, we've had 2 holiday parties in our class so far, and out of the 69, 70 of us, about 60, yeah, about 60, 64 of us, 65 of us showed up to those holiday parties, and the people that didn't show up, they just had family. They chose family over us. Anyways, no, but no. They had other obligations, so they couldn't come. So it is a wholesome community. It's really awesome, and if that doesn't serve as an example, I mean, we just all shared earphones together and we're that close, so we have that. Anyways, okay, so I mean, be sure to, we talk all of this, but be sure to figure it out yourself. We do have that pre-dental day coming up in the summer. Be sure to come visit us. We love talking to pre-dental students, and I think generally all dental students love talking to pre-dental students here, so be sure to attend that if you can't. If you could. If you can't, we do have our contact information, so we'll list them later. But right now we will kind of close up with Q&A. I know there are a lot of questions in the chat, and we will be sure to try and answer as many of those as possible. But if we don't answer your question, please fill out this form, Google form, so that you can reach out to us, or we can keep in touch with everybody. I believe we have your email from the webinar application itself, but this is a sure way to get on our listserv so that we don't lose track of you. We do have other good resources there, the ADEA Go Dental page, because that webinar, the other webinars coming up pretty soon for ADEA Go Dental, and our ADEA email as well for our school. As promised, here is, actually, before I reach that, here are some very good resources, application instructions for the 2019 ADSAS application, application info that is this long manual. You probably don't have to read through it all, but if you have any general questions, they will be, there should be an answer in there. And if you want to get started on your application now, the list of all ADSAS questions are listed there. It is the 2018 application, however, they haven't uploaded the 2019. So we'll be sure to try and keep track of that, and if it does ever upload, we'll try and send it out to you guys if you guys fill out that form, and we'll try and keep in touch as well. Here's our social media: ASDA at UW, not UW, ASDA at WU Pre-Dental. We don't use our Snapchat much anymore, but we are getting more active on our Instagram, so be sure to follow us there. And we are very active on Facebook as well. ADEA has a pre-dental Instagram as well. ADEA ADEA WesternU is the handle, and their Facebook is also very active. So if you ever want to keep in touch, or if you want to see what kind of activities that we're doing, those are good places to go. And as promised, there are our emails, every single one of us, minus Lala. But if you do have any questions for Lala, I mean, shoot them to me, and then I'll try and get the answer. And we will stay in the chat for a little bit, so hopefully all questions are answered there. thank you everybody for attending the webinar. This has been an awesome experience, and I know we kind of started off a little kind of shy in the beginning, but it kind of feels like we got to know you guys. It's really awesome talking to pre-dental students and trying to help you guys through your pre-dental journey. So everybody, thank you so much.